the systematic review, nutritional interventions, that's where we focus. In one, vitamin A, which I rate 3 stars. Okay, you see that? Alors, it's very interesting. Vitamin A is a big player, but I mentioned that earlier. And obviously, I like to read a couple of things here. Vitamin A is called the anti-infective vitamin. Many of the body's defenses against infection depend on an adequate supply. And I see a lot of deficiencies. Many of my patients have a vitamin A supplementation ongoing because they're deficient. I'm always very careful. I never use synthetic vitamin A. I always use natural, and I tend to use 4 to 8,000 international units per day. I would never give 8,000 without some biological evidence, some blood tests. Even 4,000, I only give if I have blood tests. But I think in this period of time, you could take 4,000 or 5,000 units of vitamin A as a prevention. I can't see that hurting, and I think it's really wise. Vitamin A deficiency is strongly involved in measles. You know, measles is a viral infection that's massively contagious, even more than COVID-19, which is tough. Vitamin A supplementation reduces morbidity and mortality in different infectious diseases such as measles, diarrheal disease, measles-related pneumonia, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, and malaria. So, you know, it's a big player. Then B vitamins. Alors, we have in this article and also a little bit in the other one, the last one we will cover to finish with, there's some interesting things about B2, B3, B6, B12. They all have roles. And the conclusion could be a shortage of B vitamins may weaken host immune response. They should be supplemented to the virus-infected patient to enhance their immune system. That's not what I do. I test for B vitamins and I give individual programs. I think that's the safest thing. I'm not putting the B vitamins as a systematic prevention. B complex could be considered, but you know, not for long, because we have to make sure we are not overdosing. And then, of course, after A and B comes C. C, big player. You see, I've rated the B vitamins with 2 stars. The C, 4 stars. This is my champion. Vitamin C supports immune functions, protects against infection caused by avian coronavirus. That's a well-known fact. There's a lot of human-controlled trials demonstrating that vitamin C reduces the risk of developing lower respiratory tract infections for the lungs. Is massively important, absolutely obvious. Okay, and by the way, well, yes, I'm not going to say that again. I will send you back to the other videos, but vitamin C, you take small amounts as a prevention, or you might manage with the diet if it's high in vitamin C. You have a vitamin C list of foods rich in vitamin C on my website, which you can download for free. You could take a little bit of vitamin C, 1 gram, 2 grams, depending on body weight. But of course, what is really important is to take a lot of vitamin C if you are infected, in which case I recommend to use magnesium ascorbate as a powder, vitamin C powder, because then it's not acidic. And then you can take a lot when you need a lot. And you take if you have symptoms, and if the symptoms abate, you stop taking, but if the symptoms come back, you take more. That's how it works. Apparently nobody understands that, but look, I've explained it, and please listen again if you are not doing it right. The other 4-star There's no 5-star in this system. It's not like the hotels, which anyhow are all closed, so forget it. Vitamin D, 4-star. Okay, well, that's our champion. We've discussed that. Is this delivering some more thing? What is interesting in this article about vitamin D is that they stress the fact that this COVID-19 has occurred in winter in China in December, in Europe in, let's say, January, February. I think in January it was already very quickly spreading in the north of Italy and in the south of Austria, in Tyrol. We were not aware, but it was spreading like mad. And so that's the heart of the winter. That's when vitamin D levels are at their lowest. Plus, it's affecting dramatically elderly people in residences. You know, it's absolutely catastrophic. I think we are only seeing the tip of that iceberg. Belgium declares all the deaths in elderly residences, but it's one of the few countries doing that, which is why we have such a high level of deaths. UK is not delivering those numbers yet, but apparently that would make the number of fatalities jump by 40%. In Belgium, we estimate now that about half of COVID-19 deaths occur in elderly residences. Half. So that's very impressive. And of course, the article underlines that vitamin D is typically deficient among those people, plus in winter. You understand the problem, the amplitude of the problem. So why don't we use that as a prophylaxis at a population scale? I don't know. You make your own opinion, but of course that is very strange. Vitamin E, bon, we're not going to take too much time. I've put only 1 star, not a big player, even though it works in synergy with selenium. Alors, omega-3 fatty acids, bon, we've covered that. Nothing really special to add here. Selenium, very important, especially if you're deficient. You can't take too much selenium, so I'm a bit nervous about supplementation. Selenium is a big player for the immune system. Deficiency in selenium not only induces an impairment of the host immune system, but also rapid mutation of benign variants of RNA viruses into virulence. So, you know, selenium is a very critical trace element, but you should not go into excess of selenium. You might take for a short period of time. I think it's reasonable to take a Brazil nut a day. That brings a good amount of selenium. And of course, the best route is to have your blood selenium level measured and to see if you need some support. My patients have this follow-up systematically, always test for selenium, always make sure that it's optimized. Then zinc. Zinc even more important than selenium because it's antiviral. I give it 3 stars. And some comments here. Zinc deficiency results in dysfunction of both humoral and cell-mediated immunity. So antibodies, humoral, and lymphocytes, cell-mediated immunity. It is important for the maintenance of immune cells of both innate and adaptive immune systems. Zinc is a key, you know. I think zinc should be taken in prevention for the moment. 50 milligrams sounds reasonable, 30, 50 milligrams. If you're stressed, you need more. And of course, the state of the art is to have a blood test and adapt. Zinc supplement may have effect not only on COVID-19 related symptoms like diarrhea and lower respiratory tract infection, but also on COVID-19 itself. Zinc is a big player. Iron, well, iron, well, I think you need to have your status measured. I would not recommend taking iron, but of course, if you're deficient, you have to. But you need to know that you're deficient. Now, this article also has another section at the end recommending alpha-lipoic acid, but alpha-lipoic acid is especially interesting as a glutathione precursor, but I tend to give N-acetylcysteine for that, NAC, glutathione being a major antioxidant. So that's really important. And NAC is especially recommended if you have mucus, if you have some phlegm, etc. But alpha-lipoic acid is a very good supplement. They mention estradiol and phytoestrogens because women are at much lower risk. A large majority of men in those intensive care units full of COVID patients, up to 70%. So if you're a male, obese, you're not in the good group. You should rather make sure you have at least all this prevention put in place and ideally individualize it. Then they also mention some phytonutrients. Quercetin. Quercetin is everywhere. I've covered that previously. I will not expand too much tonight. I've also mentioned apigenin, EGCG from green tea. And this article also mentioned something I love, which is baikalin from Chinese skullcap. I love it, baikalin. The Chinese skullcap is Scutellaria baicalensis. It's an amazing herb, amazing compound, is baikalin. Very, very good for fighting neuroinflammation. And to finish with that before last article, conclusion in this review, we summarize all the potential interventions for COVID-19 infection. We have found that general treatments are very important to enhance host immune response against RNA viral infection because they also use data, they use a lot of the data from SARS and MERS, the previous coronavirus pandemics. Well, I think they were called epidemics rather than pandemics, but well, they were still pretty threatening. The immune response has often been shown to be weakened by inadequate nutrition in many model systems as well as in human studies. Why don't we use that? Can you explain me why we don't optimize the immune response, which doesn't mean boost it, it means immunomodulation, by optimizing those nutrients we know play a fundamental role in immunity? I mean, is that impossible? Is that super expensive? What is going to be expensive here? Taking a few food supplements? Running some blood checks? Or what is happening to the economy? What is exactly expensive here? Enfin bon, we'll have those discussions later on. Now we are facing the crisis. However, the nutritional status of the host until recently has not been considered as a contributing factor to the emergence of viral infectious diseases. Of course, because nobody bothers. But you notice until recently. So the paradigm is obviously about to shift, which is why basically I'm delivering this little lecture, this Covideo. Therefore, conclusion, we propose to verify the nutritional status of COVID-19 infected patients before the administration of general treatments, which are obviously the best thing to do. You test, you give what is missing. But of course, in prevention, you might give small, safe amounts for a reasonable period of time, not long term, and make sure you escape major deficiencies in things that you cannot afford to miss, and you know now which nutrients. And by the way, moving to the last article because time is running, there's not so much to say because this was more again based on hospitals, but their conclusions were very clear. Subjects with malnutrition should ensure sufficient supplementation with vitamins and minerals. Now, malnutrition, you're going to tell me, oh, but Dr. Mouton, I'm not malnourished. I eat very well. Yeah, but the first thing is to have the nutrients in your plate, okay? You're going to eat them. You do a good job, you eat them. Are you going to absorb them? You know, I constantly see people with good diet and a lot of deficiencies. I've dealt with a patient like that not later than yesterday. Young, healthy, 33, 2 melanomas. Super fit, super health conscious, eating well, good diet. You're going to find perfect blood tests. Catastrophic deficiencies. No selenium. No B12 at all, and he eats meat. He eats fish. Not much meat, but a lot of fish. So the B12 is in the fish. Malabsorption, because he has a gluten sensitivity, significant gluten sensitivity, and he's not eating enough fat, so he has a lack of absorption because of a cardboard type gut lining, leading to malabsorption. He's very deficient in all fat-soluble nutrients, coenzyme Q10, carotenoids, many fatty acids, not the omega-3, but the others, GLA, no GLA, it doesn't work. Immune system, not good, because he doesn't expose himself a lot to the sunshine. 2 melanomas, okay? So, malnutrition, in fact, you have rather to make sure that the nutrients are in the blood, because they could be in the plate and not reach the blood, because you have to absorb. And so this article, beyond that general comment, and I see another one here I have highlighted, it is important to prevent and treat micronutrient deficiencies. Bon, you know, this is clinical nutrition, Elsevier. This is not some fake, low quality. This is mainstream. It is important to prevent and treat micronutrient deficiencies. Alors, what is their list here? But it's much shorter, so I just have highlighted the topics. They start with vitamin D, then vitamin A, then they mention vitamin C, omega-3, a couple of B vitamins, zinc and selenium. It's exactly the same list, okay? So we have confirmation here. I think we are more or less done. I believe I've delivered all my take-home messages. Let's hope this dramatic period of time will deliver something good. Usually there's always a good side to the worst events, and hopefully people will take a little bit more their health into their hands, make themselves healthier, which is probably a good thing to cope with this virus, because it's not only about escaping the virus. It was about escaping the virus in an initial hit phase when hospitals are overwhelmed and disorganized. Now that all that is moving on favorably, more or less, we'll see exactly, but at least here, for instance, in Luxembourg, the hospitals are now coping better. They were borderline overwhelmed, but now it's improving. Material is coming. We're equipped. I work one day per week here. The acute care service, very well protected, very well organized. So all that's getting better. The future is about maybe not catching the virus, but I think it might be a fact that we will more or less all catch it, but is to have a very reasonable reaction, hopefully be among the 50% of asymptomatic patients, 50% of asymptomatic patients. All the studies tend to that ratio between symptomatic, asymptomatic, and hopefully not need hospitalization and even more concerning intensive care units and ventilators. Thank you for your attention. Well, I had a lot of things to cover, a lot of evidence to show you. I hope you liked it. And by the way, before we close, of course, the pet of the day is my delicious Goliath, my little love doggy, who has been at my feet during the whole speech. Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.